am Ben Whitehair, and I am a working actor in Los Angeles. I serve as the executive vice president of SAG-AFTRA. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the COO of TSMA Consulting, a social media agency based in Los Angeles. I'm the co-founder of Working.Actor, which is an online business academy and coaching community for actors. And I'm a champion sheep and dairy cow showman.
Wow, so many things. You're so so many talents. Why don't we just start with acting? How did you start?
Yeah, I took an intro to theater class in high school. I had homeschooled for 6 years. I was living on a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, and I was a cowboy and did that whole deal, and then went to a big public high school, Littleton High School, which was amazing. And I took an intro to theater class, and I fell in love. I got cast in the play. I auditioned, and I had 2 lines in a challenging rendition of Dark at the Top of the Stairs. And everybody was talking. We had a very good theater department at our high school, and everyone was talking about how the show itself was like, they're like, this is not great. And I was having a blast. And I'm like, okay, if this is like the not great version, then I'm in, I'm hooked. And so I fell in love, but I didn't necessarily think that I would be an actor professionally, but I just loved it. And so then when I went to college, I started off, I was a biochemistry and theater major, like most kids, and a minor in leadership. And then I eventually got weeded out by organic chemistry, switched to political science. And then later in college, so I'd been doing theater and getting cast and taking shows and taking acting classes and all the rest. And then I interned for Congress in DC, and I was deciding if I wanted to go work on the Hill and be like a staffer in DC. And my best friend in high school shared with me a Howard Thurman quote: ask not what the world needs, ask what has you come alive. For what the world needs are people who have come alive. And for me, I was like, well, what is it that actually I feel most alive when I'm acting, when I'm doing it? And I was like, well, I don't know, millions of people do it. Why not me? So I headed out to Los Angeles and began, working my way up in the profession of acting.
Yeah, was it scary for you to move? Did you move away for college and was LA like a really big change for you?
I stayed in state for college, thanks to the Betcher Foundation, and for me, it actually wasn't that scary. But I think part of that is, I had a challenging, relatively traumatic period of my childhood where I had then moved out of my mom's house in with my dad and had left the ranch we were living on in this country life and back to the city. So I had sort of already done the scary move in life. Like, it wasn't my first time doing that. And I know for a lot of people, it can feel scary. I think the thing for me was that, there's millions of people there doing it. Like, it's not, I don't know, people move all the time. And I was heartened that, like, I don't know, the worst thing that happens is I go learn that maybe this isn't a life that I want to pursue or whatever else. But like, there's the worst case scenario is not actually that bad.
Mm.
So the move piece wasn't scary. I think what was challenging was that I think creative professions, acting especially, are very ambiguous in how you achieve a career in doing them. And part of that is because there is no like set path, right? If you're my dad's an attorney, right? You go to college, you go to law school, you pass the bar, maybe work as a summer intern and paralegal. Like, there's a much more set path, or doctors or other professions where it's just much more clear what you do. And in a creative profession, there's the challenging and good news is that there's so many different ways that you can do it, but it's very ambiguous. Like, well, what do I do? That was my question when I got to LA. It was like, cool, I'm ready to go. I want to do this. I know what's up, but I don't know what to do. And so that is really where I started my own research of reading every single book, every blog, taking every class, talking to anyone who would talk to me who was further along in the career than me, other mentors, coaches. Like, there's so many people I learned from to try to take some of the ambiguity out of it. And then that really got me passionate. I had started a blog with a couple friends called Play Bills versus Paying Bills that was talking about acting in the three main cities. I was in LA. We had a blogger in New York and one in Chicago. And like, what does it mean? What is the daily life of an actor like? And I think the thing that I learned relatively quickly is that it is an art form, and one's talent, skill, however you want to phrase that, absolutely is at the core, like the creative piece of it. But if you want to make money at it, it's a business. And everyone else in the industry is thinking of it as a business. When producers are making a casting decision, yes, the creativity is part of that, but a lot of what they are thinking about is the business and the return on their investment and the budget that they have and all these other business things. And so that is what I have then spent a lot of time doing my best to demystify for creatives, is like, yeah, hey, here's the ways to understand the business so that you can be more creative. I don't think it's about like, well, you really just need to be a business person. It's like, no, you're a creative, you're a storyteller, you're an artist. And in order to do more of that and get paid, being mindful and aware of the business so that we can navigate that.
What was the first thing that you did when you learned this about acting, like all the way back in the day?
Well, I think it kind of happened in tandem. Interestingly, the first thing I did, partly by necessity. So I had co-founded a company that had nothing to do with acting in college. That was like my day job, my thrival job. And I happen to very much enjoy it. And I'm very passionate about starting and growing businesses. But I think the advice that I had gotten when I was in college that I think is not helpful was this idea that, if you can see yourself doing anything else, do that. You're not like meant to be an actor, and only focus on acting. And if you have a backup plan and blah, blah, blah. And to me, it's a very practical implication. Unless you are independently wealthy, and if you are, good on you, congratulations. Reach out. I have some films that we can make together. Unless you're in that rare situation, your rent
Yeah.
is due every month, and you're starting a business as an actor, and it costs, like any business, it costs money. Headshots, classes, driving around town, but even just like living in an apartment and eating food, like you literally need to pay for those things. And statistically, it's unlikely that you will be able to pay for those things only from acting. And even if it's for a little while, like the first day you arrive in the city, how are you going to pay rent? It's probably not from an acting job yet, and that's okay. So having skills that you can use to be able to make money so that you can stick around and invest in your career, because what I heard from people early on was, hey, it's a long-term career, and a lot of what happens is about building relationships and the element of luck that can only happen if you're still around. If you leave the business, those luck opportunities are not going to be available anymore. So how can you stick around long enough? So to me, that has shifted my mindset around there's something really beautiful when I pay all my bills from acting. But I think for me as an artist, and this is not necessarily true for everybody, but for me, I really needed to separate my livelihood, my daily existence, especially early on as I was building my career. How can I pay my bills? How can I invest in my career and not have that be reliant on booking this job? Because then it changes how I am creatively. The sense of scarcity or desperation that people, they don't want you to feel desperate, when you need the job. But even just for my own peace of mind, not for anybody else. Like, yeah, I want to know that, like, yeah, I have income, I can pay my rent, and whether or not I book this job, like, I'm still good. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be able to keep acting. And the last piece I'll say to that is the really cool thing about being an actor or any creative profession is that, in a way, I don't think there is rejection. Like, true rejection would be you can't be an actor anymore. If you want to be a lawyer and you don't pass the bar exam, it is illegal for you to say you're a lawyer. Like, you can go to jail for practicing law. Thankfully, at least in America, it's not true everywhere in the world, but in most countries, it's not illegal to be an actor. And to me, I take great comfort in that like no one can ever tell me, hey, you can no longer be an actor. Some person might decide not to hire me for a job, though even that I don't think is necessarily rejection. It's often not personal. It's about the business. But no one can say, hey, you're no longer allowed to be a storyteller. And so for me, that was the piece. Be like, oh, you're rejected all the time. And I guess I don't see it that way. Rejection would be, hey, you didn't pass the bar, you can't be a lawyer. It's like, oh gosh, that's okay. Now I need a different life plan.
The last thing I wanted to touch on was the graduate class that you taught at UCLA on social media and, the business of acting. And, we've touched a lot about the business of acting, but can you talk a little bit about social media's role with it all?
I'm just thinking like where to start. I think social media is a tool in the same way that anything is your headshot is a tool, a demo reel is a tool. Networking and building relationship, like all these things are tools in your tool belt. And I think social media is an incredibly powerful tool. And as with any tool, it can be used to destroy and it can be used to build, right? A hammer, one of my mentors, Mary Jo Lauréats, talks about in her book, Practical Inspiration, she has a thing like, a hammer can destroy, it can tear down, and you can also build with it. So I think that is true of frankly any tool. And so I don't think any of these tools are inherently good or bad. Social media is evil. Social media is bad. It's just a tool. And for me, what I have seen in my own career is that it completely changed the game of what and who I had access to that in talking to actors who came before me, they didn't have access to, right? I have direct access. I have book jobs. I've gotten managers, agents, roles, information, opportunities all through social media. And I think, do I think you have to do it to have a career? No, it's not like you can't have a career without it. But I think anybody who's not at least working to utilize some of it is probably missing an opportunity for a really valuable tool. And I have found, to me, one of the things that is challenging about being an actor is that there's so much outside of your control. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people struggle with, is that there's ambiguity and lack of control, but there is so much, especially now more than ever, that we as performers have in our control. I can control what's on my social media. I can control what type of content I share. And my invitation to people is like, hey, why did you become an actor in the first place? Is it because you wanted to make people laugh? Is it because you wanted to share a certain kind of story? Is it because whatever? Social media is a way to do that today. You don't have to wait for somebody to book the kind of job that would do that. I wish that for everybody, but who knows when that will happen? That part is ambiguous. But today, you can do that. Today, you can make people laugh and you can build an audience, and you don't need, I have access to sharing a message to tens of thousands of people today, whether or not I book the job that I just auditioned for. And I think, especially in a digital virtual world, social media is one of the most powerful ways to share an authentic, genuine representation of who you are. I am not saying, everybody needs to go out there, even our social media company, like one of the common things that we hear when we're supporting people with their social media TSM is like, well, I don't want it to feel fake, and I'm not trying to like be an influencer. And the truth is, if you're being an actor, you are an influencer, right? You're probably influencing people. And the actual question is like, how is it that you want to use your platform? And we're big believers in being authentic and having a genuine representation and having something that matches the quality of the work you're doing as a performer, and the quality of work that you're doing as an artist. Because I would hate for someone to lose out on a job because their social media wasn't accurately reflecting like, oh my gosh, this person is trustworthy and they're amazing and they work really hard. And to me, it's like, I have control over that. So even on a base level of building relationships, on a base level of, I think rightly or wrongly, people who have the ability to hire you are likely to look at your social media. So being thoughtful about what it is that people are finding, And to me, it's so empowering because I can share the kinds of messages. When I first started acting, I'm like, God, imagine how great it would be if I had the opportunity to, like, I don't know, be interviewed on a late night show and share a message of transformation or things that are important to me. And it's like, I'm able to do that on my Instagram today. I don't need to wait 20 years to maybe or maybe not have that happen in my career. It's like, I don't have to wait 20 years. I can do that today. I can start building that today. I care about bringing joy to people, especially in times of trauma, and to be a champion for social. Like, my personal mission statement is to be a champion for social change through art and business. I don't need somebody to book me on a job to do that. I love it. It helps those things. I love when I can do that through my art. I love it when that happens. Like, massive bonus points. I love it. It's one of my favorite things on the planet. It's what has me come alive. But to have the control and to have the power, and I mean that from like an empowered place, like, I can do that today. I don't have to wait. I don't need somebody to book me in order to share that message. And so that to me, is what I would say is, like, social media is an amazing tool. It takes effort. I totally get it. It can be challenging. There's ways to dip your toe in the water. There's also, certainly there's companies that can help you do that. Be mindful of that people are doing it in an authentic way. I'm not a believer in, like, fake followers and bots, and it's just about, like, looking away on social media. It's not about that. It's about building an audience for why you're an actor in the first place. Like, what is it that you want to say? What is it that you want to share with the world? What do you want your platform to be? And how can you make sure that you're having an authentic representation of yourself, if only to build relationships or to learn or to listen to what other people are sharing on social media? That, when I first, Instagram didn't exist. That's where I spend most of my time now. But it was Twitter when I first got to LA, and I was very resistant. I was like, I don't care what people had for lunch, whatever. And all my business friends were like, dude, you got to do it. You got to do it. So I joined, and what I found early on was like, oh my gosh, there are people here who, agents, managers, casting directors, producers, directors, other actors. And it was the first time where I was like, oh my God, I actually feel like I'm part of the business. I actually know what they're thinking. I know what's going on. I know how an agent is thinking because they're literally telling me every day on social media. And so, as a starting point, when I teach my social media classes, it's like, we think of it as a megaphone, a way to promote ourselves. I'm like, turn the megaphone around, listen, what are people sharing? And then from there, you can interact and actually engage with them, which is amazing. And then to practice adding value, always adding value. And to me, those are the ways to really leverage social media, and then hopefully to take it to the next level, to build yourself a platform, to have quality. TSMA, Ryan, the first class I saw him teach, he was saying, look, quality content posted consistently over time within your brand. Like, Ryan Walker was saying that in the classes when I first met him, before I joined his company. And that is still true. Like, that is the foundation of social media. And I hope for actors to say, hey, this is a tool. I can decide how to use it. And I can decide it can be destructive, or I can decide to build something and create something and have a platform and share my message with the world. And to me, that is just deeply empowering. We have it can be scary and overwhelming because we have more options at our fingertips. But my hope is that actors can walk away feeling empowered to be like, oh my gosh, literally this thing did not exist. Is it 10 years ago? I'm trying to remember when Instagram first started, but whatever the number of years, right? Like, this is a thing that literally didn't exist, in the same way that a smartphone didn't exist. And now I can literally I can film a movie on my phone. I have access to telling stories. I have access to literally interacting with the people I most want to work with in this business, are probably on social media in some way, shape, or form, or at least some of them are. And to build genuine, authentic relationships with them, like, you can do that. You don't need the agent or the manager to do that. I'm not like, agents and managers matter. Everybody in the business is helpful, but rewind however many years ago, and you couldn't. There was, like, literally not a mechanism for you to do that, and now there is. And to me, that's deeply empowering.
Thank you so much, Ben, for talking to us today. Where can we follow you to keep up with all the amazing things that you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. It's really a treat. I'm always deeply appreciative of anyone who spends their most valuable resource, time, to hear anything I have to say. I don't have every answer. Please don't take, everything I'm saying is like, this is the way, like, hey, there's so many different ways to do this. But I love interacting with people. I'm at Ben Whitehair on all social media. I'm certainly most active on Instagram. If you have questions, whatever, you can send me a message there. Just if you say, hey, I saw your interview here, it just helps me, weed through and be able to respond faster. My personal website, benwhitehair.com, but Instagram, frankly, is the best place to get all of that. And then if people are interested in any of those things that I've talked about, you can send me a message, or you can go to tsmaconsulting.com if you're looking for social media support. Working.actor is the website if you're looking for more professional guidance. And we also have a free 70-page ebook about the basics of like your marketing materials and getting started that you can access on that site. So lots of resources. If there's any questions you have or follow-ups or things that resonated, please shoot me a message. I'm easy to find. If you Google me, you can find me, but at Ben Whitehair on all social media is probably the fastest.